Hey everybody, Pick Yo Gamer here. I just saw a really cool, and it's a good video from the Goof. More Coleco Chameleon information. I know he's probably going to see this and go, oh God, I'm about ready to rant. I got some things to go through this, and this is a new article on Ars Technica, and he found it. And again, somewhere up in here, I'm going to put his channel art and his channel. The Goof has a good channel. He's been really passionate about this. Give him a subscription. Seriously, I'm not, he didn't ask me to promote him. I got my laptop right here. I just watched his video. It's 37 minutes, but he reads a lot of information, a lot of cool stuff. But I'm going to go through some of this stuff too. Not as in depth as his. Again, that should have disappeared. Somewhere up here is his video. Go check his video out. Give him a subscription, a like, comment. If you don't like it, don't be a dick and go bashing him or something. I mean, everybody has their opinion. You don't have to agree with everybody. Me and him don't agree on everything, but we're friends. He's a cool guy. But all right, this article came out on the Ars Technica website yesterday, and like I said, the Goof found this, and it's got a lot of information and an interview with Mike Kennedy about why the Retro VGS failed all those months back. And some of this, looks like, I was watching the Goose video, which is, again, not trying to kiss butt here. It's a good video. But some of this information in this article is stuff that a lot of people have already known, at least if you watched Atari Age forums. And remember, I kept saying this guy's name, Kevtris, Kevtris on YouTube. He was a guy who was making the FPGA board or chips, or was going to, for Mike Kennedy and them. And he already said that this is blown up, and Carlsen's name was brought into this 5 months ago. So reading this Ars Technica, it's a lot of stuff here. Again, the Goose video does a lot more in depth. He reads this stuff, which again, it's good if you like to be guided through all this. The problem I have with this article is that Mike Kennedy seems to throw all the problems on Carlsen. There used to be engineer who was designing this. My problem with this is, Mike Kennedy, you are the leader and own this Retro VGS Inc. company now. It used to be just Retro VGS, the game system was Retro VGS, the company was Retro VGS. Now it's Retro VGS Incorporated, making the Coleco Chameleon. So people gotta get like, the Retro VGS name is the name of the company now, just so you know. Kennedy says he takes responsibility for letting John Carlsen, the head of hardware for the old incarnation of the system. Okay, he did say that. I'm rereading this, that he didn't completely pin it all on him, but he says this. Let me read part of this. Kennedy said that he takes responsibility for letting John Carlsen, the head of hardware for the old incarnation of the system, lead the team toward bloated features and a sky-high price. Okay, Carlsen priced this out of the market, Kennedy said. He made a Rolls Royce of a system that no one would pay for. In October, Carlsen also worked on his own, put out a baffling demo video showing what seemed to be a barely functional prototype of the system. And then he goes on to talk about this system, and this was something else. The board, which, again, Kevtris already mentioned this in multiple places. I'll give you the Atari Age forums. You can just go through. There's 100 and something. He even set it up here. What was it? 186 pages. It's a lot. I can't find everything, but Kevtris already said this months ago, that the engineer, which was Carlsen, was making everything bloated and ridiculous. And also, Eric Bailey, who is over at Skirmish Frogs that I'm on, also has NintendoLegend.com. He had an interview last September with Kevtris, and he already stated this 5 months ago. So why Ars Technica, or Mike Kennedy's coming to Ars Technica saying all this now? Sounds like he's trying to take the blame, pushing on somebody while saying, I take some responsibility. yeah, you should have not allowed him to do that. Who knows? And who knows if it's all Carlsen? I'm not trying to take Carlsen and make him to be a horrible guy. Um, Somewhere up here, I'm going to go ahead and put that picture, which is him from this video. I don't know him. I'm not bashing him. But, and there's more parts to this, and Kenny says, while the core FPGA powering the original Retro VGS design was rather affordable, and see, I always thought the FPGA itself was fucking expensive. They even said this, it was expensive. Okay. Kenny says Carlsen insisted on loading the system with costly and unnecessary design quirks that quickly drove up the price, including a 6-layer PCB that cost $150 on its own, a monstrosity of a board that filled a Jaguar shell. Internal hardware that Kenny says internal hardware that converted an HD signal to optional analog output for old school TVs and a $14 AC adapter to power it on. Okay. Let's go back 5 months ago. In this interview, which I'm probably going to I'm going to overlay some of this and take down this picture. This is the interview that Kevtris, Kevtris, which he's on YouTube, YouTube/user/Kevtris. He's already had an FPGA system built called the Zimba 3000. He's wanting to try to make it himself. He doesn't have a lot to do it. He put $1,000 to $1,200 out of his pocket. Remember when they wanted hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the prototype? Yeah, that's when I called bullshit on this months ago. And this is, I'm going to pull out some parts of this interview because there's a lot of it. The links below, you can read the entire interview on Nintendo Legend. Eric Bailey, he owns this site. Again, he's a Nintendo Legend. He's on Skirmish Frogs. He owns these sites. I say Eric is this guy. Kevin is Kevtris. So, Eric, how did you come to be a part of the Retro VGS team project? Kevin, I was solicited back in April 2015 or May after someone told me about told them, the Retro VGS team, about my FPGA cores. I had 3 Skype calls total from what I recall, and the canceled one. And they start talking about cores. The Retro VGS team, Mike Kenny's team, approached Kevtris, and he was going to build all the cores, right? Right. Yeah. And let me talk about this. You know, he was there. Let me go more about this. Eric, can you describe the mood, the tone, the general feel, the playing stages of the VGS project? Kevin, it was a lot to. There was a lot of talk about what could be done, pie in the sky things such as 100-year flash ROMs. I tried to talk them down to a more manageable, cheap solution like a single serial flash ROM that could hold an FPGA core and a required gain run on it, but they wouldn't hear me out. I also gave the cost-cutting measures and explained how the FPGA should be used to do video processing from an ARM system instead of the Rube Goldberg arrangement of buffers and transistors. Their hardware guy, Carlsen, that's right, I just noticed this, I almost didn't see it. Hardware guy wanted. It would have saved money in PCB space and wiring PCB. They just talked about the 6-layer PCB that costs $150. Kevtris already said this 5 months ago. He told them this. So why is Kennedy finally coming forward with this? Eric, what light can be shed, if any, on where the figure of 1,950,000, I can't even do that right, came from their fundraising goal? I don't know anything about where this came from, okay? So he didn't know where this was. It was a bullshit figure. They wanted too much. I didn't even really mean to read that. Ignore that one. That's really not even a part of what I'm trying to say here. Eric, what light can you shed, if any, on where the figure, Eric, what was the single moment you began to have misgivings about being on the team, or was it a gradual process? Kevin, it started out seemingly feasible until the proverbial kitchen sink was added. Extra stuff that they already just mentioned in Ars Technica. When I heard them talk about thinking about using small hard drives on the carts, I knew this would never fly. I said this months ago. They thought about hard drives in the carts. They not figured out what the carts are going to be until recently. I'm going to go back to the Ars Technica thing that the Goof just reported on, and it's got more information. Finally, Eric, ultimately, what led to your departure from the team? Kevin, I got fed up slowly hearing the grand plan of things that can never be on the podcast. And when they blew off the last meeting, that was it. I knew it wasn't even close to being done, less than 2 weeks before they launched, and was shaking my head. I doubt they have a solid hardware plan even today. Remember, I reported, and when I was on the Retro VGS Club podcast, we saw that their entire system design changed 2 weeks before the Indiegogo. This is it. He knew it was just a pie in the sky stuff. It was just, they didn't have a true working prototype. If we were, what is the next one? Can you remember the original vision for the VGS product in your initial discussion? As Eric. And perhaps how was that vision different from what ended up being represented on Indiegogo? Kevin. I can't remember a whole lot. It was originally going to be an FPGA plus ARM core. That's not at first. That's what the Goof said, and that's really what it needs to be. Then it morphed into an FPGA plus ARM core single chip into that plus an ARM-based SoC single system on a chip, i.e. something that you see in Ouya. One transformation. When it launched, it transformed into a TI SoC of some sort of of some kind of 3D capabilities that was so new the data sheet wasn't even ready. They didn't have any design or data sheets for this thing. And chips were not going to come from TI, Texas Instruments, until November of this year, November 2015. I guess they're still over a month away from having this kind of silicon yet. Now, the last thing I'm going to read on this one is, Eric, if we were sitting in a bar tonight together and you had a couple beers in you and I asked what you thought of the Retro VGS project, what would you tell me? Kevin, haha. It was a dead duck 5 months ago and it remains a dead duck. I still love this quote. Only now the duck has been gold plated, made in the USA and designed to last 100 years. That's funny as hell. Then we go over to the Atari Age, which post that they're talking about is Ars Technica, page 60. And Kevtris came on there and put this huge, he actually shows his boards. He shows his FPGA console that he's already put $1,000 to $1,200 building. And he already shows this. And he drops the mic. He shows his system can do NES, Master System, Game Gear, ColecoVision, Atari 2600, 7800, Game Boy Color, Intellivision, Odyssey 2, Creative Vision, Arcadia 2001, Adventure Vision, Video Brain, I haven't heard of some of these before, RCA Studio 2, Fairchild, Channel F, Supervision. And some non-games, game things like Super NES, and he was trying to get the 16-bit to work. He shows his board, he shows what he was doing, and he just pretty much came out there and just dropped the mic. And this is another thing about the prototype. I noticed in the IGG Indiegogo, they were allocating $100,000 for prototype development. This is an insane amount of money, considering I'm in for around $1,000 to $1,200 and on my latest advanced prototypes, around 1% of what they're asking. No, I'm not going to start asking for money. I just thought it was interesting to point out. Total development time for concept to prototype PCBs plus parts was around 2 to 3 months. This could design at Altium, learning Altium, and getting the boards manufactured. One man did this in 2 to 3 months with $1,200, and they were asking $100,000 for development. See, okay, now where am I going with all this? I'm already up to 14 minutes. God, when I read this Ars Technica article, they took Carlsen, and yeah, Kennedy says he takes responsibility for letting Carlsen. Why are you taking his name and pinning him against the wall? A good leader, a good boss, Mike Kennedy, you would say I let the project go somewhere, but he kept saying Carlsen. He kept throwing the blame on him. That's unprofessional. That's something you do internally to say, yeah, Carlsen went too far. I let him go too far. We all fucked up. But to get onto an article and interview and say Carlsen did this and Carlsen did that and Carlsen wanted to do this, he got bloated. And the news on Carlsen out of the picture. They say a new hardware team went back to drawing board. It seems to be tacky that they're coming out and pinning everything on Carlsen, and I take responsibility. Who took responsibility for the piss poor social media management you did, guys? Was Carlsen on Facebook really snapping people's heads off? You got to pay for that price. And this is something I know Goof addressed, and I'm going to get to about the price here. But there's some good stuff here, and I am excited and happy about what they've announced. I know it don't seem like that, but this article is Mike Kennedy digging up old information that's 5 months old to save face and to push it off on Carlsen. That's tacky. It's already been over everything's already been over interviews. You know, nobody mentions Nintendo Legends interview. Of course they don't. This reveals a lot of shit that they don't want to say. Right up there. What was it? What did he say again? I also gave other cost-cutting measures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all the hardware guy wanted. I would have saved money in PCB space and wiring. He already said their hardware guy, Carlsen, was going too far. 5 months ago. Wait a minute. September, October, November, December, January, February. 6 months ago. I can't even count. 6 months. Why is this interview after? Why didn't they just say, our team, which has changed over time, we went too ambitious, we went the wrong way, we take responsibility, and we move on? Why do you keep pinging Carlsen? Because he wants to deflect responsibility, everybody. And that's tacky, Mike Kennedy. Very tacky. The good stuff, the good positive things at 17 minutes exactly. Let me read this. They talk about the Coleco Chameleon internals has the cost associated with the old Retro VGS. Kennedy promised a sub $200 price for Chameleon, and he said he'd like to come at the range of $150. The new system refocused on the original vision of 2D sprite-based games and those you see at 8-bit to 32-bit. And this is good. I am happy about this. And I know the Goose will watch it. I am happy. I know he said, you know, a lot of people go get pissed off about this. I'm not going to be pissed off about this. I just don't like the article, the way he's doing everything. He shouldn't be pinning a blame on somebody 6 months later. Just let it go. But he really wanted to push off on it and pull his face up into the light. And I bet you the people on Ars Technica saw that. But now they're going to ask, a new crowdfunding effort will likely ask for a more reasonable $250,000 to $300,000, other than $2 million, 10 times less, give or take. For to be in a prototype at New York Fair in February. We're almost, let me look this up real quick here. ToyFair, New York. Sorry about this. I'm doing this on the fly. But see, this is good. We have the promise of the system they gave us before. ToyFair 2016. Excuse me. Pardon me, people. When is this going to be? I think it's the 16th. 13th through the 16th. Wow, 13th. We have 6 days. We have 6 days next, this coming Saturday is when they start. This could be interesting. Real interesting. If they show a real system running real games on real cartridges, and it's going to be $100-something, a decent few $100,000 crowdfunding. I'll say this, and I've said this for months. And the Goof, you might have a heart attack. I'll back it to some extent, if not back the whole fucking thing. Because here's what's funny is they're going back to what they promised, $150 to $200. I know they promised $150 to $200. I always said $200 was a sweet spot around that range. But also a system that works. And if all they're going to focus on is the sprite based, that's fine. And here's something else. And they started talking about the cartridges. Let's go back to the article. This brings us a specific storage capacity for those cartridges. And which is still up in the air, while Retro VGS was going to take a gigabyte. It's been reined into focus closer to 100 meg range these days, Kenny says. That'd be plenty of space for 16-bit style games. SNES titles topped around 48 megabits. So 100 megabytes in B, capital B, which if you go with conversion is 800 megabits. Remember SNK, Neo Geo had gigabit power, 1,000, you know, let me do that real quick so I don't screw it up. 1,000 megabits divided by 8 was 125 megabytes. So they would almost carry what the Neo Geo carried at those massive cartridges. And a 48 megabit game, you know, that's 48 divided by 8. I'm just doing this so I don't screw up. Well, I can't even do anything 48. Don't you love it when the calculator fucks up on Windows? Or I can't even do what I'm doing. 48 divided by 8. I just want to make sure. 6 times 8 is 48. I can't even, I'm trying to make sure I don't lose my train of thought. It was like 6, and you're down on the ROMs. They're like 6 megs, but they're 48 megabits. Street Fighter was 16 and 24 megabits. 32 megabits was like Chrono Trigger and bigger games like Final Fantasies. If they could do 100 megabytes, which is nearly 800 megabits, that's huge games with retro goodness. That's good. I'm thumbs upping this. To what I have to call out on this video is not Goof. I'm glad he, you know, I'm calling out this article, which I'm glad he put out here. I'm going to have to keep searching on Coleco Chameleon. I haven't been as interested because I just didn't know what they were doing. But this article is kind of crappy. And the points where Mr. Carlsen is pinned up against the wall, or anybody's religious, I'm sorry, I use the word crucify. I don't mean to be insensitive, but he's getting crucified for the whole thing. Yet Mike Kenny goes, well, I take responsibility for letting him do that. Why even mention the guy? Just say, you don't do that. I work with IT in very large businesses. When you go out and make a announcement to somebody, they don't mention who screwed it up. They just say, we didn't do what we were supposed to do. The vision got too big. We're moving on. And Kevtris already said this months ago. So why is old stuff being brought up? Why is Carlsen being pinned as almost all of it, even though Mike Kenny's taking responsibility? And why? It seems like he's trying to get some of the blame off of him so he looks clean. And everybody thinks I hate Mike Kennedy. I don't hate Mike Kennedy. If he watches this, I don't hate you, dude. I don't hate your company. I want this to work. If you come out with a $150-ish to $200 system that it plays old school stuff, and he talked about the cartridges were around $20, $30, perhaps a bit more for a game with a big license. Yes. Some wrestling. Let's talk about Daniel Bryan. Yes, I will buy this. I will be happy. And then the last part about it, I know the Goof's video, he said, he even mentioned me. We call each other out. We're not enemies. We're friends. He's a good guy. Little goofy, same like me. I know that's a bad pun. Laugh, damn it. I was pissed about the $300 range because they had nothing. Now, if I go back to my old videos, I might have said something different. I have changed my views. They were a $349 console. If you remember, $300 was the 500 early birds. That system was $349, and it matched the PS4 and Xbox One. Even Ars Technica said that. They couldn't ask that with Kevtris, and everybody was pointing out they didn't have these specs. They didn't have anything. They didn't have it. If they would have had a $300 so system with a prototype, I said this months ago, and had the cartridges working, PS1, Saturn graphics, all the way down to Atari, and they worked, and they had huge cartridges that were affordable, I would have backed it at least a somewhat a bit and been, okay, this is good. And if it came out, they would just shut everybody up. But they didn't. They asked $300 for something they had no design for other than something on a piece of paper. Remember what Kevtris said? Hold on a second. Give me a second here. He's talking about they didn't have have the designs. Yeah. I'm sorry, people. Give me a second here. Oh, I got fed up slowly here in the grand plan of things that can never be on the podcast. And when they blew off the last meeting, that was it. Wasn't even close to done less than 2 weeks before launch in the shake of a head. Doubt they had solid hardware plans even today. They didn't have the plans. They kept going with it. They couldn't even announce it. That's my problem with that, with how they did it. Now, I'm good with it. I think this article is a little deflecting the blame from Mike Kennedy, even though he takes responsibility. I think he didn't have to say anything about it. Just say, he should have said, we screwed up, our team together, we're not going to blame anybody, we made a bad decision, it's now going to be what we said it's going to be, and we hope you guys love it. That should be the article. Everybody may disagree with me that he shouldn't have pinned Carlsen to the wall. We already said 6 months ago with Kevtris and a bunch of people that the hardware guy Carlsen was pushing too hard. This just seems like it's tacky. So what do I think about this? And I know Goof's is saying about the cost. You get what you pay for, my friend. But if they give us a $200 system that actually does what it's supposed to do, take my money. I'll at least back a certain chunk of it. I may not drop a whole $100-something to it, but I'll definitely back some part of it and get some credit in there, credentials in there. I mean, if they could come out with a system in this price range, $250, $300, $1,000 Kickstarter, and of course they're going to have a prototype showing this stuff really works, I'm excited. This would be the Coleco Chameleon and the NX is set in 2016. This is going to be a really fun thing. Really fun. I'm at 27 minutes. So mine's gotten pretty big too. So I'm going to get off this video. I think this article showed a lot of good things. What we should take forward from this is going forward and saying that it looks like the system is going to be cheaper. It looks like it's going to be affordable. And if they could actually show this off and get a really decent price point with a decent Kickstarter, I'm excited. And I hope it works, and I will back it to some point. I may not back a whole system cost at first, but I'll back it. Who knows? I might end up backing the whole thing. If they put up or shut up, that's great. And the Goof had a good point. Maybe down the line they could put out one that has multiple ARM chips in there that could do hell up to Dreamcast level. But they'd have to have the carts. I don't know how they would handle it. Maybe an add-on that allow people to burn to single-layer DVD or stamp a single-layer DVD. I don't know. That's way off there. Let's just get the first system out. After I'm going to be watching this all the way up and past what I'm going to be Hawkeyeing this again. The Boss Rush podcast got delayed. We didn't do that in the last month. The next guest was going to have was the Goof. Yeah, I didn't forget about you, my friend. I'm thinking we need to have the Goof on here and the Boss Rush podcast after the Retro VGS drops at ToyFair with a lot more information and see what we see and keep up with this thing. So again, sorry for the long video. Goof made a good video. He actually made a lot longer video, but he put up a lot of good stuff. The Ars Technica article, sorry, I just blanked over. The article is good. It produces a lot of good stuff. I don't think it needed to blame Carlsen for everything. I don't think they even needed to mention that what he did or didn't do. Again, that's my personal picky thing. I'm a picky old gamer. You guys watch me because I'm a picky SOB and I pick at stuff. I hope this does well, and if it goes the way they're doing with that price point and everything, it's going to be awesome. So subscribe, share this, tell me what you think. Again, I appreciate everybody that's subscribing, everybody that's watching. And like I said, go get the Goof for like and subscription too. We go back and forth on this stuff, and he's keeping up with this system too. All right, everybody. PKO Gamer, out.